Thanks very much for joining us. This is What's Up Today, your surefire daily updates. My name is Cynthia Mutua. Consider me your informant. Now, today we have a unique lineup of stories. Per usual, today we're going to be discussing you can now request a special number as you use public toilets in some parts of Nairobi. Also, we're going to be talking about a detailed calculated wine heist by professional thieves. Also, we're going to be discussing how to handle boring dates and being stood up. And we're also going to be delving more into the heatwave situation that has been going on in the world in case you don't know what it's all about in our today's Did You Know segment. Let's move on to the first story of the day. Public toilets are boring. Well, they used to be, past tense. Now that Kenyan public toilets have done the unthinkable, they're not even boring anymore. There is a reason most people go to the washroom with their phones. Keep themselves occupied as you do your business. Some of the public toilets decided no more. No more of clients getting bored at the restroom, and no more of clients having to occupy themselves with phones. Some public toilet operators in Nairobi have decided to enhance customer experience by playing music in their facilities. One specific public toilet in the Nairobi Central Business District, that is CBD, located along the Tom Mboya Street, has been entertaining its guests with music. The music can be heard playing from the speakers, which are probably pinned somewhere on the ceiling. An attendant can be seen sitting at the tiny corner playing the role of a DJ. This attendant is mixing different types of music depending on the time of the day, mood, and of course the playlist available. It's good music. One of the attendants said that it was a treat to give their customers. And we have been playing music in our toilet for some time now. People love music, and we believe playing different types of music could help release their stress. That is one of the attendants speaking to some reporters to our TV station. And if you're wondering if they play music all the time, the answer is no. It plays mostly in the evenings, weekdays, and especially when there are many customers. One customer believes that the music is a good addition as it makes the place a bit lively. It is now safe to say it lightens their mood as they go about their business. The facility was among those closed in the CBD by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services sometime in March 2021 for security reasons. The toilets were later opened and are currently fully operational, and business is booming. Could this be the moment you have been waiting for your entire life? DJ, can I have a special request while performing my duty? On the plus side, it has also contributed to creation of more opportunities and expansion of the DJing industry. Nairobi County has over 60 public toilets, with 18 located within the CBD, specifically at bus stops, recreational parks, railway stations, and markets. The toilets charge 10 shillings per visit and are believed to be a serious moneymaker in Nairobi. So, if you want to visit and do your business while being entertained, this is your spot. Okay, now moving on to the story of a heist. You've seen heists in movies. A thought probably brushed in your mind after watching a heist movie that you could try one yourself. The plans are smart to the execution, and these are people who calculate their moves detail by detail. Well, this is not a movie scenario. This is something that happened in real life. People are done stealing money. Wait until you hear about the Spanish wine heist. Spanish police have detained a pair of professional thieves accused of stealing more than $1.6 million worth of wine from a hotel in the south of the country. The man and the woman evaded capture for almost 9 months after being arrested last Tuesday on a border check for stealing 45 bottles of wine from the Atrio restaurant in the western part of Spain. The total value of the stolen wine was a whopping 1,648,500 euros. That is around 1.68 million. Now, if you start converting that to Kenyan money, we won't even be done with the zeros. And one individual bottle was valued at a whopping 310 euros. 310,000 euros, that is. The heist took place in October 27th of 2021. And according to the police, it was planned in minute detail. The thieves first visited the restaurant 3 times to prepare for the raid. The suspects showed a high level of professionalism, specialization, and perfect planning. Investigators found that the woman booked into the Archie Hotel using a fake Swiss document and had dinner at the restaurant with her male accomplice. Both suspects were then given a tour of the wine cellar by staff, which is a common occurrence according to police. They went up to their hotel room together, but the man left a few moments later and returned to the cellar. He got in using a stolen master key. And then he left a few minutes later with 3 large rucksacks filled with stolen wine, stuffed with hot towels to cushion the bottles. While he was stealing the wine, the woman distracted the staff by asking for some food to be prepared, despite the fact that the kitchen was already closed. Staff noticed the missing bottles the next morning. This time, the suspects had already left the premises at around 5 a.m. in the morning. The thieves left Spain a few days after the heist and moved around various European countries, and this made it very difficult for agents to pinpoint their exact location. But authorities finally caught up with them, entering Croatia from Montenegro at the Karasovi-Sutronea border crossing. At that time of his arrest, the male suspect had 2 more warrants outstanding from a court in Madrid. According to Jose Polo, who is the co-owner and sommelier of the restaurant, the most valuable bottle was an 1806 Chateau de Quim. Right, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Polo said that the bottles were so valuable that he was willing to buy back the stolen bottles from the thieves, in particular the 1806 bottle. He says that more than the bottles of wine, they robbed our dreams. That's such a sad story. Well, it looked like they're the villains in the story. It might be sad for the people who always support the villains in the story. For example, this case, the thieves. But unfortunately, they've been caught. We'll give you more about the woman if she will be arrested. And moving on to handling dates. Well, in these times, have you been to a boring date? How far are you willing to go to get out of a boring date? Most people take a bathroom break or pick a fake phone call to excuse themselves. Not Nicole though. She decided boredom will never be her portion, so she went above and beyond to make sure of this. Explaining that it was always a good idea to have an exit strategy, Nicole Massey told reporters on Wednesday that she had a friend on standby to drive a car through the bar window in case the date goes badly. Hopefully, I won't need her, but if by chance there is no chemistry between her and the guy, I'll send my friend Claudia a text to crash her Honda Civic straight through the wall to give me an excuse to leave. That is Nicole speaking about the incident. And it's a lot of trouble to cause these damages and these losses. This is a Honda Civic we're talking about. But Nicole added that having someone idling in a vehicle, waiting to plow right into the bar, causing thousands of dollars in damage and maiming and killing several people in the process was the best way to get out of an awkward situation. Yeah, it's a little rude to take off after one drink, but I'm sure he'll understand that I have to go be with my friend who just dragged several screaming human beings across the floor. I know she'll come through for me because I've done the same for her, not once or twice, but several times. At her last date, Massey was caught gathering her things to make her excuse when the cars crashed through the bar's window, and she had a perfect excuse to leave this boring date. While Nicole knows how to get out of a boring date, another woman called Short knows how to not get stood up. Short sued a man for $10,000 for allegedly ghosting her. Short was supposed to head on a date with Richard Johnson in 2020 when Richard failed to show up for the date. Short is not your ordinary lady. 2 years later, she has not let it go. She got mad and sued him. According to the judge, Short's claim was intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, before you say Short was unhinged, she had her reasons for calling it emotional distress. Many ladies and men have been stood up, but we do not hear these claims of people suing others for being stood up. But according to Short, Richard made a mistake when he stood him up on the date of her late mother's birthday. It can be understood, since in her defense, it is the date she remembers her late mother. The hearing was virtual. It was going well until it went off rails after Short claimed Johnson committed perjury. What is perjury? Perjury is a false statement made under oath. The judge made it clear to Short that there was no way being stood up amounted to perjury. Short claims that Johnson wrote her a letter, and in the letter he lied about a couple of things, and that is why she was suing for perjury. When the judge tried to explain to her that what perjury means, since she seemed to be using terms that she was not conversant with, Short went off. She kept on asking the judge repeatedly. According to the video, you can see her asking the judge, "Are you insulting my intelligence? Are you insulting my intelligence?" The judge stated that it was her job as a plaintiff to lay out her allegations properly. He also added that the matter was not something justiciable in the district court. For the rest of the hearing, there was no coordination between the parties as they kept on speaking over each other. In the videos, we can see the woman and the judge getting into a screaming match mid-court hearing. Short muted the video call and left. The case was forwarded to circuit court where it's supposed to be handled anyways. While you're complaining about you being stood up on a date, you have the option of suing your date. But if the grounds are correct, as you can see, this didn't go very well for her. Now, moving on to our today's Did You Know segment. You might have heard of the heat wave that's going on, like right now in Africa, particularly in Kenya, it's very, very cold. We're talking about some record-breaking temperatures. But right now, at the same time, in Europe and other parts of that area, there is record-breaking high temperatures. Well, while you're complaining about your cold temperatures, Europe is on fire. So what is a heat wave? For days, temperatures have skyrocketed above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 38 degrees Celsius approximately. And that's a shattering record. And it has been triggering huge wildfires that have forced tens of thousands from their homes. From Portugal to Spain to Greece, the flames have spread like a contagion. In the countryside surrounding Bordeaux, France, 75 square miles have charred in the past week. Blazes are even breaking out across London, a city not exactly known for fire weather. Wildfires are, of course, a perfectly natural phenomenon if you're an environmentalist. This is because they have periodically reset the ecosystems for new growth throughout history. But in modern times, thanks to humanity's meddling with the climate and the landscape, these fires have ballooned into unnatural beasts that instead of helping the ecosystems, they're interfering with the ecosystem. A fire historian, Stephen Pine, has termed this as the pyrocene. The pyrocene is an age of flames. Over the past several years, many factors have conspired to create the massive wildfire scene in Australia and California. Climate change has created more intense heat waves and longer dry seasons with more crisp, ready-to-burn vegetation. And human habitation is expanding from city centers to this increasingly dry wild zone. In California, for example, folks are getting priced out of coastal regions and moving to the cheaper areas like the forested eastern parts of the state. Of course, the economy has a very huge part in contributing to these movements. The one constant among the wildfires is that humans will find a way to start them, whether it is a spark from a cigarette, a lawnmower, or a firework. In countries like Portugal, Spain, and Greece, economic development has triggered migration into cities and away from pastoral industries like farming and raising animals. That economic shift meant that there were not enough people on the landscape to maintain traditional burning or maintain traditional land use. You've heard of the traditional way of farming, that's shifting cultivation. People burn some part of land and then move to another. Apparently, this was very useful in maintaining the ecosystem. So now, for thousands of years, farmers have regularly burnt their lands to clear out dead brush and make way for new growth and lower the risk of massive blazes. But as in California, many modern European communities have turned to a strategy called fire suppression, meaning putting out wildfires quickly before they have a chance to spread. You also put out the wildfires quickly before they have a chance to even destroy property and kill people. That means fuel is piling up in the countryside, ready to burn. And this fuel is grass. But there are now fewer people living in the countryside and also tougher conservation laws. Forests have grown. While that is good for wildlife, it also adds fuel to the landscape with fewer grazing animals to chew through grasses. And that highly flammable fuel builds up even more. So you start seeing fires coming out and it's just relentless. Scientists say the best way to mitigate the risk is by thinning excess vegetation and doing more intentional controlled burns. Yeah, you heard that right. Scientists are asking you to start fires in your home place to reduce the chances of fires starting by themselves. But this can be a hard sell to the public. Most people were raised in a world where absolutely every fire is wrong. Some people object to the smoke, which can worsen respiratory conditions like asthma, but the alternative is increasingly massive. And since the fires are out of control, that and the smoke is going on around and choking communities for days on end, well, you have to sacrifice one thing for another, start the fires on your own. And firefighters take great care to do controlled burns on days when conditions don't send the smoke toward people. Arguing against fewer flames may seem counterintuitive, but the fix is more controlled when you get beneficial ignitions and literally fighting fire with fire. Unfortunately, the actual limiting step isn't having enough people to the prescribed burning, to do that prescribed burning. It is not enough people supporting the concept of prescribed burning. One day after experiencing record-breaking temperatures, most of Europe slid back into more typical summer weather on Wednesday morning. For the first time on record, Britain experienced temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. That is close to 104 Fahrenheit on Tuesday. And other areas such as France, Belgium, and Netherlands, in Germany and Britain were 20 degrees hotter than historical averages in the same date during the late 20th century. The high temperatures threatened lives, destroyed buildings, and upended daily routines. For much of the continent, and the effects continued on Wednesday. Fires are raging now in Greece, Portugal, and Spain, where the heat is still intense. London's fire service had its busiest day since World War II. The mayor said that it was the busiest day ever for these firefighters. At least 41 buildings were destroyed and 16 firefighters were injured across much of Europe. Forecasters predicted relief will come with the rest of the week and more moderate temperatures were going to come in as some rain was expected to begin. The extreme heat forced many to think more about climate change and ponder whether the past 2 days had been a sweaty anomaly or a preview of the future. Now that's all you need to know about the heat wave that's going on. In case you're wondering why there are wildfires going on in the world, that's why. So now if you have friends across there, you can tell them start fires intentionally so that since the grass is already burnt, now you don't have to, there's no more grass to burn. Well, that's it for our Did You Know segment. This has been What's Up Today, your Surefire daily updates. I've been your host, Cynthia Mutua. Well, you can follow us on social media at Dissect TV on all platforms and at Cindy Mutua on Cindy_Mutua on all platforms. And see you tomorrow, same time, same place for Surefire daily updates.